What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Another Wednesday in the Word. Here we go. Getting into Genesis chapter 9. So we are officially and fully post-flood now. So let's see what happens for Earth 2.0, if you want to call it that. Okay, so Chapter 9, verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons and told them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. All the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the animals that scurry along the ground, and all the fish of the sea will look on you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grains and vegetables. But you must never eat any meat that still has the lifeblood in it." So, before I really analyze that, I want to get into the then, because it implies it's like at least shortly after, the previous events, which was essentially Noah, building an altar and making a sacrifice to God, and God finding it pleasing. Basically, just go back to my comments near the end of the video on chapter 8. But, God was pleased with Noah's sacrifice. He specifically mentioned about, not cursing the ground anymore, or killing off everything, or, that kind of stuff. So, then, God blessed Noah and his sons. Also, we have the whole be fruitful and multiply command again, kind of like we had earlier on in Genesis with Adam and Eve and such. And also, kind of, in a sense, the whole, he's talking about, having power over the other animals, essentially, kind of similar to how God told Adam and Eve to, kind of, some translations at least, whether or not this one is, I forget, but, talk about, Adam and Eve having dominion over other living things and pretty much the rest of the earth, essentially. So, similar vibe going on here. But we also have the additional command not to eat any animals that are still living. Which, why would you in the first place, unless you were super desperate? But anyway, so, verse 5. This is God still speaking. "And I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die, and anyone who murders a fellow human must die. If anyone takes a human life, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. For God made human beings in his own image. Now be fruitful and multiply and repopulate the earth." Okay, so there's a life for a life kind of mentality going on here, with, the kind of more positive idea spin on that being that, all life on Earth is God's creation. It is valuable. It is, some might say, even sacred. And, it is worth preserving. But also, there are consequences for not honoring and respecting that. And punishment fitting the crime kind of thing with, someone who murders should die. It does seem a bit self-perpetuating, though. If you say, if anyone takes a human life, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. Like, okay, so does taking a life as punishment for that person taking someone else's life, like, does that still fall into this category? Most of us, I imagine, would say logically, no, that doesn't make sense, because then it just turns into a self-perpetuating cycle, and oh no, everybody dies. So, yeah. I don't think that's the idea going on here, that it's like a self-perpetuating cycle or anything like that. So anyway, verse 8. Then God told Noah and his sons, I hereby confirm my covenant with you and your descendants, and with all the animals that were on the boat with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, every living creature on earth. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will floodwaters kill all living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth. So, kind of, again, going back to what was said at the end of chapter 8, with, God saying he's not going to destroy everything again. In this case, he specifically says he won't do it with a flood, but, if you go back to chapter 8, he literally says, I will never again destroy all living things. So, I think the specification in this case is just because of the flood that had just happened. He's basically saying, all right, y'all aren't going to have to worry about going through this again. But, okay, we'll continue on with this for the next few verses, but God's establishing his covenant now, part of which involves not flooding the whole earth again. Verse 12 continues the covenant, though. Then God said, I am giving you a sign of my covenant with you and with all living creatures, for all generations to come. I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is the sign of my covenant with you and with all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear in the clouds, and I will remember my covenant with you and with all living creatures. Never again will the floodwaters destroy all life. When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth. Then God said to Noah, yes, this rainbow is the sign of the covenant I am confirming with all the creatures on the earth. So, it seems like there's a lot of repetition there, which is often done, again, just to kind of solidify the point, really, and emphasize it. So, this might sound almost like one of those folktale kind of explanations for something that happens, which is sort of a case with a lot of oral tradition, but still, there's meaning to it and purpose to it. It's not just like, yeah, here's the thing that exists, and here's like kind of a halfway logical explanation for it. Because if, the whole covenant is about not flooding the earth again, then it's like, oh, right, the rain's here, but that brings the rainbow. Right. Let's not let the rain go on too long and flood the earth again. So, I don't know why he felt the need to specify that again to Noah. You kind of get the assumption that Noah's like looking up at the sky at this point, seeing the rainbow, and then God's like, yeah, that's the rainbow I'm talking about right there. This thing that, is in a curved shape that's got a bunch of different colors. Yeah, that's the rainbow I'm talking about. So, now we get to verse 18. The sons of Noah who came out of the boat with their father were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan, it says in parentheses. From these three sons of Noah came all the people who now populate the earth. After the flood, Noah began to cultivate the ground, and he planted a vineyard. One day he drank some wine he had made, and he became drunk and lay naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe, held it over their shoulders, and backed into the tent to cover their father. As they did this, they looked the other way so they would not see him naked. So, again, doesn't take long for trouble to brew, or at least awkwardness. But, I mean, at least it tells you for sure that, hey, you know, the ground could be cultivated. Grapes could be grown and wine could be made. But also this, again, the first couple of verses also go back to my point that I kind of made in the last chapter or the chapter before, one of those two. I think I made it in chapter 8, but basically saying that how all of us essentially come from Noah, then we don't have to necessarily trace lineage all the way back to Adam if we wanted to get, you know, the earliest common ancestor, if for lack of a better way to put it. But anyway, so Noah gets drunk. Ham walks into the tent, notices Noah, his father, naked, comes out and is like, hey, you guys, Dad's naked in there. Maybe we should cover him up. But because Shem and Japheth are aware of this before walking into the tent, they back into it as they're trying to cover it, as they're, covering up Noah so that they don't end up seeing him naked like Ham did, which is at the very least awkward. But we'll get into more on that right here, starting in verse 24. When Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives. Okay. Apparently it was a big deal. It's not really necessarily explained why it's a big deal, but apparently it was. So anyway, verse 26. Then Noah said, May the Lord, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. May God expand the territory of Japheth. May Japheth share the prosperity of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Noah lived another 350 years after the great flood, and he lived 950 years, and then he died. So, because Ham had viewed his father's nakedness, which is, again, at the very least awkward and embarrassing, Noah, I mean, it says he woke up from his stupor. So I guess the assumption is that he's not still, kind of drunk or in an unusual state of mind. But he learned about, Ham finding him naked, and whether just because of the embarrassment of it, or because it was just generally deemed wrong, which may be the case. I don't know. I mean, we don't really have all the details on that. But either way, Noah actually doesn't really directly curse Ham, his son, but instead curses his grandson, Canaan. Which, I mean, the significance of that might become more apparent as we get later in the Bible, but the short version of it is that, there is a land often referred to in the Bible called Canaan. So I guess it's assumed that geographic area is named after the son of Ham, probably. But so Canaan ends up being cursed because of this. But on the flip side, Shem and Japheth, because they did sort of the noble thing of covering up their father without looking at him naked, Noah gives them a blessing and basically wishes prosperity upon them. So, yeah, that's pretty much it regarding the story of Noah specifically. It took us like 3 chapters to get through that, but that kind of wraps up the Noah saga, so to speak. And next chapter, in a somewhat similar fashion to earlier, when we wrapped up the saga of Adam and at least 2 of his sons, and then had a genealogy. There's going to be some genealogy stuff in chapter 10 regarding Noah's sons. But anyway, that'll be for next time. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot else to say on this. Still kind of trying to figure out why the whole... I mean, because it's not like Ham necessarily would have known that his father was naked, but at the same time, it's like, what would the reason have been for going into Noah's tent? I don't know. There are some situations that have a lot of question marks and not necessarily a ton of answers, but we're never going to know everything, especially not in this life. So that doesn't necessarily detract from the validity of what's in the Bible. And if I've said that before, I'm sorry, but I'll probably say that multiple times. Just because there are a lot of questions that come up that cause some people to kind of struggle with the Bible, with their faith sometimes, or just, really kind of sit there scratching their heads, figuratively speaking, just really wanting to have a logical explanation for it all. And I mean, the truth of life is we're not going to have all the answers all the time. But anyway, I guess I say that just to hopefully encourage anyone who is either going through this with me right now as I'm making these videos, or just in your own time of reading through the Bible, that, like, if you see something that you don't understand, it isn't inherently obvious, and even when searching for answers, those answers seem to be difficult to find, that shouldn't necessarily give you a reason to stop believing in God or the Bible or anything like that. So anyway, that's gonna do it for now, I guess. You know, the whole deal, like, share, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. And if you don't, just look down in the description for more info. You'll also find info on my other social media pages while you're there. But also, importantly, leave comments down below with any other thoughts that you have, especially if they're related to this or other connections. Whatever you have for me, even if it's other video ideas and stuff, let me know down below. So that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video, at least for chapter 10 here. But whatever the case is, until next time, stay cool, people.